evening and welcome to our special coverage of the closing ceremony of the 2025 Harbin Asian Winter Games. I'm Lee Cho-yuan.
And I'm Zhong Shi reporting alongside Cho-yuan tonight. Over the past week, we've witnessed breathtaking performances, historic achievements, and unforgettable moments of unity and sportsmanship.
That's right. And from ice rinks to snow-covered slopes, athletes from across Asia have showcased their skills, pushing boundaries and making history.
Tonight, as the games come to a close, we celebrate not only the athletes' achievements, but also the spirit of collaboration that has brought Asia together on ice and snow.
So join us as we reflect on the remarkable journey of the games and the future of winter sports. The closing ceremony of the 9th Asian Winter Games is about to begin as we speak. And on the final competition day, Team China defeated Hong Kong SAR in the men's curling bronze medal event. The Philippines made history with its first ever gold medal at the Games in the men's curling finals. And in women's curling, China settled for silver after being beaten by South Korea.
And in the men's ice hockey final, China missed out on the podium after losing to South Korea for bronze. The women's team earned bronze after losing to Japan. China leads medal tally with 32 goals, followed by South Korea and Japan. Asia's top winter sports athletes are honing their skills in Harbin in preparation for the 2026 Winter Olympics.
Let's get more from the ground. Let's go live to our correspondent, Go Tianchi. He is in Harbin for us. Fabulous to see you there, Tianchi. Now, as we speak, the closing ceremony is about to begin in just 10 minutes. Set the scene for us. What's the mood like there? What can we expect tonight?
Well, yes, I've just got out of the main press center and basically everyone's talking about the closing ceremony. Now, the opening ceremony, which was held 7 days earlier, really left a deep impression on many. So they're having really high expectations for the closing ceremony today. And the event will be held right here behind me at the Harbin International Convention Exhibition and Sports Center. Chinese Premier Li Qiang will attend the closing ceremony along with foreign leaders. The event will last for about 60 minutes with the spirit of sportsmanship and a long-lasting friendship. Now, if you guys still remember the opening ceremony, there was a lot of elements related to ice and snow, so it's more of like a winter celebration. But the closing ceremony will have a theme of welcoming winter. So together they kind of welcoming spring, sorry. So together they kind of form the idea of the endless cycle of life. And the performances can be divided into 3 sections: the athletes' carnival, the salute to the volunteer, and the extinguishing of the flame. Now, another highlight of tonight's event is what we call Saudi Arabia's 8 minutes. Now, this year is Saudi Arabia's first time attending the Asian Winter Games, and the desert country will also be the next host country for the next, which will be the 10th Asian Winter Games. And that will also be the first time for the event to be held in West Asia. So tonight, the country will present an 8-minute cultural performance, and that is also something that we can look forward to.
Yeah, looking forward to the celebrations that are about to unfold there. Thank you very much, Tianchi. Go Tianchi, live for us in Harbin.
All right, now let's take a quick look at the final medal tally of the games. China tops the leaderboard with 32 gold, 27 silver, and 26 bronze medals for a total haul of 85.
And South Korea is in second with 45. Japan in third place with 37. Rounding out the top 5 are Kazakhstan and the Philippines.
And now let's head over to our special studio at Harbin's famous Ice and Snow World. Joining us from the heart of China's Ice City is our sportsing anchor Greg Lafredi, who will bring us more on this year's Asian Winter Games.
Greg, you have been immersed in the atmosphere over the past week. What has it been like to experience everything up close? What kind of experience has it been for you? What moments or breakthroughs have defined this year's competition?
Hi, Cho-yuan, Zhong Shi as well. Cho-yuan, I know you're a big fan, of course, of short track speed skating, and it's been fantastic here. It was perhaps one of the most exciting and welcome events. It's certainly China's most successful event in the Winter Olympics, and the fans were geared up for it here. Although China didn't perhaps perform as well as they might have hoped on the ice, they did do very well with Lin Xiaojun leading the way. He won a silver in the men's 1500 meters and then a gold in the 500. Also standing out was Fan Kexin, the Chinese veteran, 31 years old, helped win the 3,000-meter women's relay for the host country. But it's been a fantastic week all around. Of course, here in Harbin, we're covering the ice sports. The speed skating was fantastic, the figure skating as well, and it's just such a great venue and a place to be doing it in. Now, as the Winter Games, of course, come to a close, CGTN has spoke with many delegates and athletes on just how they're going to remember and embrace these games. Often when we talk about any games, we're talking about legacy, and that is certainly true for this 9th edition here in Harbin. And many expressed a sense of gratitude, while others said they're eager to see how winter sports will continue to grow and evolve across Asia.
Well, it just kind of feels like a more compartmentalized Olympics, right? You know, it's put on by the OCs of all these different countries, right? You know, so it's quite the grand display, and it's just as competitive as any event we've ever played in. But you know, it's pretty special to be here in China as the host country and to be competing here, and for us to be doing as well as we are right now. So,
actually, we're happy about the result. I think we must work more, but for our result, we accept it from my teams because that's the first time I come in here like for sports to be in the Harbin. Before in the busing, we are just only for ice hockey, but now I think we are accept that, but we must work more to be in the position middle.
I think overall I played great. I wasn't expecting anything because our training was not that good, but when I came here and played, I was playing really good and I was really shocked, but we didn't get any wins, but I think this was a great experience for me.
And that's what it's been all about, really, are these wonderful experiences. That's what people take home with them. One that I'm going to cherish for a long time is just getting to report during these games from literally the coolest studio, pun intended, that I've ever got to cover games in. I'm in the center of the ice and world right here in Harbin, this amazing CMG studio that is literally encased in ice. And joining me in this ice igloo today, we've got CGTN reporters Dai Kai-yi and Zheng Yibing. Yibing, I would like to start with you, please, because I must admit I'm a little bit jealous. Here in Harbin, we had the ice events, but of course the snow events were up in Yabuli, which is a resort area about 200 kilometers away. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what I missed out on. What happened up in Yabuli? What were some of the most memorable things? Any athletes that stood out to you, and what fun you had up there?
Well, yes, absolutely, Greg. Yabuli is one of the most famous and largest ski resorts in China. I've been longing for this place, traveling there and visiting there and even skiing there for a long time, at least 20 years. Well, this is my first time. One of the things, the most unforgettable things for me is I was amazed by the snow venues there. The half-pipe slope-style aerials biathlon, and even the newest ski mountaineering snowfield is totally world-class. I can say that it can compete with the Olympic style. So this is a really unforgettable experience. And then the participants from, even though it is the Asian Winter Games, the participants are all very powerful, and some of them are the top medalists. For example, the Xu Mengtao and also the Li Chaoen from South Korea. They are the gold medalists during this new season in World Cups and even for the upcoming Winter Olympic Games. So I was really attracted by their performance in this new field. That's the first thing I want to share with you.
Now, I want to hear a little bit more about Xu Mengtao. She is one of the most popular Chinese athletes too. She is a standout in aerials. Tell us a bit about her and her performance up in Yabuli.
Well, yes. Actually, in Yabuli Ski Resort, there were altogether 34 gold medals competed by the athletes from Asian countries, including China. Because the Federation of International, the snow ski, they give the very high praise to Xu Mengtao because she and her team wins in many occasions, and she has actually won 2 gold medals and 1 silver medal during the Asian Winter Games. When I met her in the mix zone to interview her, she's always happy and show us a smile in an energetic way. When I asked you why the FIS, the Federation of International Ski, would give such a high comment to her and Team China, she said this is a joint effort of generations of aerialists of Team China. So from here, let's take a listen to what Shimon has to say about the Chinese aerialists, their performances in the past decades.
It's the result of generations of hard work by Chinese aerialists. Team China has always strived for excellence, passing down sportsmanship, skills, and experience from one generation to the next. Take my team, for example. There are 3 of us, my coaches and me. For every competition, we prepare multiple detailed plans, sometimes up to 4. This season, we've worked together seamlessly and are in excellent form.
Now, Xu Mengtao, obviously one of China's most popular athletes for a bunch of reasons. Her persistence, her professionalism. There's a wonderful story about her dreaming about becoming an Olympic champion, where at the age of 5 years old, she would jump up on first step of her stairs at home, raise her arms in the air and celebrate winning that gold medal. Well, she achieved that at Beijing 2022. Here she is winning actually her first Asian Winter Games medals at this competition here in Harbin. Now, Kai, you got to go to the opening ceremony.
That's right.
You're up in Yabuli. I'm jealous of that. I'm jealous of your time at the opening ceremony. So fill me in on a little bit about what I missed at that amazing ceremony.
Right. Thank you for having me, Greg, first. Yes, today's the closing ceremony, but roughly a week ago, I went to the opening ceremony. And what I noticed is that no matter which delegation entered the stadium, the cheers and the applauses were deafening. You can definitely see the power of sports, of bringing people together. It's like there's like an unspoken bond transcending nationality, transcending language and culture. And it is that moment that reminds us like how the Asian Winter Games can really bring people together and bring different cultures together.
What a fantastic experience. You're lucky. Now, of course, we are bookending these Asian Winter Games. So we've got the closing ceremony on deck right here. We've heard a bit about the opening ceremony, about the snow events up there. I want to talk more about the ice events later on, but for now, we're going to interrupt our little time in the studio here because, as I understand, the flag raising ceremony at the closing ceremony is about to begin. So, Beijing, I'll hand it back to you. Zhongshe and Qiuyan, please take over.
Greg, I can't believe you're jealous of so many people up there in the front line with you. We're so jealous of you being able to witness all of that unfold in Harbin. Really the coolest place to be right now in China. We appreciate your reporting. We'll get back to you later on, Greg. Thank you so much. We're moments away from the start of the closing ceremony in Harbin, and we'll bring all the details to you, so make sure you stay with us right here on CGTN. And for now, we're joined by our 2 guests in the studio, Paul Dong, co-founder of EI Asia Limited, and also Chen Diandian, founder of EcoSports. Gentlemen, we'll get into the details later, but first of all, just quite briefly, starting with you, Diandian, what is your take on China's performance at the Asian Winter Games? China comfortably sits at the top of the medal tally.
Oh, you know, it's amazing. I watched several games, and I need to say that I had a very happiness about the achievement of Team China at this Winter Asia Games, and especially if you watch the replay of the women, the team pursued speed skating. And we beat Japan and Korea, and then we stand on the top of the podium. It's very meaningful, because the Japan is very dominant in this area. The world record and Asia record are both made by the Japan, and then we beat them. So it definitely gives us the confidence about the next, Winter Olympics.
Oh, definitely. China has a fantastic run at the Asian Winter Games. They're going away with the team very happy with their performance. What about you, Mr. Do? Have you watched any of the games? Do you like it?
Probably I have been watching more than most people in this country, maybe 5-6 hours every day.
Wow.
For more than a week. I've been trying to follow. I have my own questions. I need to figure out answers to them, because internationally, from Asia to Europe to North America, and every corner of the world, this season, in the middle of the winter, actually athletes of various events, they have quite a tight schedule, not only in Asia, not only for the Asian Winter Games, but in Europe, World Cup, and all their own series. And I will be wondering how they will organize and try to coordinate with one another so that they can fit in the Asian Winter Games schedule, but at the same time, they have their own bigger agenda in the run-up to the Winter Olympics next year.
Oh yeah, as we speak, we've just seen some leaders making their way into the stadium where the closing ceremony of the Asian Winter Games is about to start. When the flag raising ceremony takes place, we're going to bring it to our viewers. But Mr. Chen, what about, out of all the exciting events, what really stood out to you? What really got your heart racing the most?
Because I can see that we got so many breakthroughs during these games, and then we can see, I have to admit that in China, we do not have a very long and rich history and culture about winter sports from the athletic perspective. So, but this year we can see that in China, they really make a breakthrough and achievements in this year. I need to highlight that our both men and women the cross country skiing, we both got a golden medal. So this is a really I think it's a milestone in this game.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dian. Let's take our viewers straight to Harbin, where the closing ceremony of the Asian Winter Games is underway. You're watching a flag raising ceremony.
Please be seated.
All right, that was the flag raising ceremony, and later we're going to see the athletes being invited into the stadium. We're expecting a big parade. We're also going to see some art performances. But for now, Greg, let me hand things over to you because I know you've got all the cool vibes, the hot takes, you've got the best seat to watch it all. Take it away.
Absolutely, Choyan. Thank you very much. Last time you broke back to me, I mentioned the short track speed skating. I'd like to say a word or two about the speed skating and just how dominant China was in that, cleaning up with 11 gold medals. But that's just to whet your appetite, and I can fill in some more details later. But one of the most interesting parts, of course, of the Asian Winter Games is just the growth of winter sports across the largest continent in the world. And we've had the debuts of two nations at these games, one of them being Saudi Arabia, which is incredibly important, of course, as they will be the host of the next Winter Games in 2029. Now, Saudi Arabia's first ever Winter Olympian is Faik Abdi. He competed in the men's slalom back in Beijing 2022. And he did so here again. This time he was with a bit of a larger group, so he actually came to this wonderful studio and spoke to me about his experience at his first Asian Winter Games, what it was like representing his country, and also he talked a bit about the pride he felt when his country won the bid to host those next games. You mentioned Beijing 2022. At those games, you made history for Saudi Arabia as the country's first Winter Olympian. You got to bear the flag at the opening ceremony. Here, you did the same. You're flag bearer again for the opening ceremony at your first Asian Winter Games, but this time your team was a lot bigger, right? You had 8 athletes, I believe, here. You got the men's curling team plus 2 other alpine skiers. Is it Jude Farhoud and Sharif Al-Sudari, rather, also competing with you? So what was it like being part of a team this time? And tell us about that opening ceremony experience.
Well, it was great to have teammates this time. Beijing was a little bit lonely, being the only athlete. I definitely felt the pressure that time around, but it was nice to be able to share, this experience with other Saudis, it being Saudi's first time at an Asian Winter Games. So I hope that throughout the years we see the number of Saudis in winter sports and in sports in general to grow. And yeah, it was nice to see the ladies, make history as well and be the first first woman to represent Saudi at the Asian Winter Games.
How has your experience been sort of in general, from just arriving, treatment, the hospitality, everything? What do you think of just Harbin and the games they put on?
It's been very smooth, to be honest with you. Everyone's really supportive. I came from Yabuli to here with 5 bags, so on the train. So you can imagine that sounds hectic, but being in China, it's actually a lot more straightforward than you think. Everyone was helpful, helping me haul my 5 bags through the train station. So yeah, it's been great from when we got here to now. So I'm really happy with this experience, and I'm sure all the athletes will relate to that.
Well, you are a huge reason for winter sports growing. I mean, every federation, every sport wants their sport to grow. And the example of this alpine skier from Saudi Arabia competing first in the Winter Olympics, and now you're here at the Asian Winter Games, you're literally breaking new ground for not just your country, but for the sport in general. And of course, the next Asian Winter Games will be hosted in Saudi Arabia in 2029. I understand that you were part of the bid process for that. Can you please tell us what that was like, what it was like when your country was chosen to host those games, and just the growth of winter sports in Asia?
So, so the bid was actually, very interesting experience for me. Having been part of that team was obviously an honor and a privilege. At the same time, I was a little bit surprised, but when I first started to understand the concept, it made a lot of sense to me. And yeah, I was really, really happy and a bit emotional from the inside when I found out we had won the bid. And the night before the bid, I had trouble sleeping. Didn't really rehearse my speech that much. I was just wanted to step up and just take a deep breath and go for it. So yeah, it was definitely a great experience. But I think more importantly, I'd like to see obviously more Saudis take up winter sports and sport in general. I think that's really my biggest purpose, being a pioneer in winter sports specifically. So I would feel bad if by the time I'm done with skiing, we don't have a next generation of alpine skiers or winter sports athletes in general. So I really hope I can inspire and encourage more people from Saudi and the region to pick up winter sports and really give it their best shot.
For many athletes, even like Faik Abdi and others, the Asian Winter Games are a chance for them to experience a winter that they haven't really tried before. I mean, I'm from Canada, and even for me, Harbin can be pretty cold. The winters here in the depths of it can reach, temperatures of -25, -30 degrees. While it hasn't been that cold here, it has been pretty frigid at time. And as we talk about the Saudi Arabian delegation, my colleague, CGTN reporter Wang Suen, actually got to follow a group of the Saudi athletes as they explored this northeastern city and took in a bit of the temperatures and the culture of this wonderful metropolis.
Coming from a hot desert country to the chilly temperatures of Harbin, one thing the Saudi delegations was sure to explore was ice and snow. Together with the Saudi's media team, we visited Snowman Wharf, where dozens of snow and ice activities awaited. The first thing, buying more equipment.
Thank you.
After that, they are ready to tackle the cold. The first activity we tried was the snow drift. It wasn't too bad for the first game.
Hello.
But we needed a break. Next up was a snow-filled long dragon. This one took much longer and was something they never imagined.
But it's so cold, it freezes.
It's so cold. It's a very good experience for us.
We're adapting to it day by day.
When asked how they would describe this experience once back home.
Amazing. Yeah, they should come and visit.
Yeah, I tried that one.
As the sun set, the team headed back. Despite the freezing temperatures, the experience gave them new memories they will be eager to share. Wang Sun, CGTN, Harbin.
So those athletes from Saudi Arabia certainly weren't the only ones from Asia or from warmer climates in Asia coming to Harbin, perhaps experiencing really cold winter for the first time. There was other athletes too that got to experience it, and I think they really all embraced it and had fun, but they learned to dress warm. Now, joining me in the studio once again, well, they never left, fellow colleagues Dai Kai and Zheng Yibing. Kai, I'd like to ask you first, on the same theme of athletes from warmer countries, I understand that you got to meet some of the Singaporean team who are on the ice. Can you tell us a little bit about that and their experiences here?
Right. Days ago, I was filming their training, the Singaporean short track speed skating team, to be specific. And they have this Chinese coach. And it's a decade-long partnership, they told me. The associations of ice skating between China and Singapore, like they started probably 12 or 13 years ago. And China would send their coaches to Singapore. They would train. They would have this year-long training. And they would go on all sorts of different countries to train. And for them, they don't have facilities as good as Harbin has. They don't have, and plus they also have their academic missions. So there's only a limited time for them to train, but you can tell that they love the sports and they put all their efforts into training. And they're here not just to compete, but also to learn from Asia's best. And that's one of the biggest takeaways I had from the interview. You can see that kids, they really love the sports, they really want to grow, and they said, of course, they offer their gratitude to their mentor, their coach, but more importantly, they said they still had so much to learn under the Chinese coach that they have.
Well, that is an excellent point. In my time talking to both athletes and officials, this is one of the biggest takeaways I got from it. I think the Asian Winter Games provide such an interesting platform because you have athletes who maybe only took up the sport a few years ago, who are just feeling it out. They're on the ice or perhaps on the snow with world champions, even Olympic champions. And while they're not likely to beat them and not likely to stand on the podium, the experience they get from being up against the world's best is invaluable. I also got to speak to the president of the International Skating Union, Mr. Kim Jae-yul, and he talked about this wonderful collaboration with China, the incredible resources and experiences they have in being able to train people from other countries in short track speed skating and others. So this rapport, this collusion is so important in growing the sport and developing the next generation of athletes. Speaking of the next generation of athletes, Yibing, up in Yabuli, we had the debuts. I mentioned earlier, Saudi Arabia. They had a skier up there, but also another country was making their debut. Can you talk a bit more about this? Again, the same theme of warmer Asian countries getting into the Asian Winter Games for the first time.
Oh, exactly, Greg. For this Asian Winter Games, there were two countries for the first time participating into the event. First one is Saudi Arabia, the second one is Cambodia. Well, in the TV program, filming, interviewing with my database with Harbin and Ice and Snow World, I interviewed 4 snowboarders from Cambodia, the warmer country in Asia. Well, they gave me a very strong impression that they are courageous, even in front of the Olympians from China and South Korea and even Japan. So they just shared with me their experiences. They participated in a training in South Korea just a month ago, but this time they have to face this new venue with an Olympic style, with an Olympic standard. In a preliminary, I just thought about whether these athletes could finish the competition, but actually they did finish. They're courageous. They told me, this is the first time ever for me. This is a valuable experience. I want to share this experience with my friends, my families, my teammates. So as for, just like Li Kai said, this is not just a sports event. This is an event for communication between Asian countries about the sportsmanship sportsmanship.
You're absolutely right. There is so much involved in this, from the athletes to the fans. And of course, none of this would be possible without these incredible venues. And a lot of what goes into the venues is technology. And Harbin has managed to combine technology and creativity to build this incredible, unique musical road. It welcomes athletes and visitors from across the world. Now, by engraving grooves into a road that's calculated at intervals, vehicles driving at 50 to 60 kilometers per hour actually trigger melodic vibrations, thus transforming the road surface into a giant musical instrument.
It's like a vinyl record. The road surface is the record, and the vehicle acts as the needle. Friction between them creates music. Harbin is both a city of music and a city of ice. The musical road seamlessly blends these two elements together. The road is designed with 4 songs: Harbin, Snow, Snow in the northern border, Waiting for You in Heilongjiang, and Wishing You Peace.
What incredible technology. I must admit, the first time I heard about this was from my colleague Yibing. You were talking about not just the technology of this musical road, but also about the importance of Harbin as a technological center. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? And as I understand, you even got to experience this musical road.
Oh, yes. When I traveled to Yabuli from the city of Harbin, I took the bullet train and then I take the car to drive there. And I heard from the city of Harbin to Yabuli and even the snow town, there is a road which is called the Music Road. I got really impressed and curious about how does it look like or feels like. When I traveled there, the driver told me, listen, we're about to enter that area and we will slow our speed. And he told me, only by driving at a speed of 60 kilometers, we can listen to the music. Because just like we described in the video, this kind of experience, just like the giant music record player and the vehicle tire, just like the needle or the stylus. So when we drive at a specific speed, we can listen to the music. There are 4 sections in this on this road. The first one we could listen to is Harbin, the Ice and Snow World. Well, that is official music from the Asian Winter Games. Sounds very, very interesting.
So there's actually different tracks. There was different parts and music to it. What an incredible idea. I mean, that is, I've never heard of anything like it. But there's a bunch more technology too. Kai, understand that you know a little bit more about the technology that perhaps went into the stadiums as well.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like technologies inside the stadiums, the other day I was at the stadium, I saw a robotic dog. And that's quite interesting. First of all, I had no idea what it's all about. But then the staff there told me that it's ensuring the power supply, because it can monitor in real time like those power cables to make sure the electricity it's okay for the transmission, for everything in the stadium. But outside, there's another technology I want to mention as well that's also in the stadium. It's the next generation 5G network. I'm sure you've heard about it. It ensures that seamless and ultra high definition broadcasting that ensures that all of our audiences can have a really good experience when watching those games.
I heard a bit about that 5G, as you mentioned, right, because it's being used at the Harbin Hockey Stadium. As you say, it's not just about this network, but it also plays a crucial role in AI-assisted officiating. Yeah. I mean, hockey is they call it the fastest game on ice for a reason. So just making those split-second calls, sometimes the referees, like the rest of us, they need a bit of help. And it wasn't just in there, too. As I understand it, there was also this technology applied in another stadium, the curling venue. In there, we had advanced acoustics. And what that delivers, obviously, is just a crisper, sharper sound. If you've ever had the pleasure of watching curling, it's all about that stone literally curling in so you can hear it moving, delivers a better sound to the athletes, too, and then that crisp bump when you knock another stone out of the house. It's incredible. So there's also another technique there to filter out some of the crowd noise. So for TV cameras and stuff picking this up, of course, there's just going to be a whole lot of background noise from fans cheering to talking on their own phones. So there's signals, frequencies, not to mention just the general noise of the populace. So there's this AI system to filter out the noise, to choose just, the important sounds of the curling and the stone. One more too, also in the curling venue that's so important, is this humidity control, because the temperature and the difference in the ice makes the difference in how much the stone actually curls. So if it gets too warm, it's going to affect how much it curls one way or the other. So to maintain it at a normal balance, these weather stations, or rather the humidity stations, are linked up with a couple of weather stations outside to maintain and keep that just on an even keel. So incredible. We've got a little bit of everything, technology, everything else. It's really been fantastic. I'd like to ask one more thing, just sort of general takeaways. Yibing, you were up in Yabuli. I'd like to hear a little bit more about the fan experience, because of course, no games would be complete without the people watching it. So there was, as I understand, a lot of perhaps new fans, new to snowboarding or free skiing. What was the atmosphere like there? What were the people, were they enjoying it? Were they knowledgeable?
Well, the atmosphere there is really, really fantastic, because we got amateurs. I mean, these fans, these spectators are at least amateurs from across China, from Heilongjiang province, from Beijing, and from Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous region. They came to the Yabuli resort to watch the games, but basically we watch these spectators watching the games at the foot of the mountains, because it is easier to get to that places. But for the alpine and also the slopestyle and the big air, we have to drive the motor vehicles to get there. It is difficult for most of us, so there are fewer spectators, but in general, we got the most fantastic fans there.
Well, speaking of fans, we've got a huge group outside, so let's wave goodbye to these guys. And with that, we'll turn back. Kai-yi, Yibing, thank you so much for joining me to chat about this. That is it. That wraps up me and my coverage of this incredible CMG studio here in the heart of the ice and snow world. The closing ceremony is well underway, so Zhongshe, Qiuyan, I'm going to hand it back to you in Beijing.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun watching your coverage there in Harbin. Thank you, Greg, and many thanks to Kai-yi and Yibing there as well. And as Greg mentioned, as we speak, the closing ceremony of the Asian Winter Game is taking place in Harbin. They've had a flag parade. They've invited athletes in. They've mingled and mixed. They're having a good time. For them, tonight is all about partying. And later tonight, we're going to see a flag handover ceremony. But for now, let's take a short break here on our special coverage. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Harbin, where dreams are forged in the shape of ice.
Frozen in time. It all starts with passion.
A legacy of resilience, pride, emotion.
It's not just about the climb, but the effort it takes to reach the top.
Through history and culture, we've all come together here.
This is the Asian Winter Games, only on CGTN.
Dream of Winter, Love Among Asia, the slogan of the 9th Asian Winter Games. Dream of Winter sets Harbin stage for 1,500 athletes to pursue excellence in ice and snow sports. Love Among Asia is mankind's common aspiration for unity, friendship, and peace. This year's Asian Winter Games boasts the highest participation in the event's history, with 34 countries and regions in attendance. CGTN brings you highlights of athlete competitions in 6 sports and 11 disciplines from Harbin, Northeast China. The 9th Asian Winter Games, February the 7th to the 14th on CGTN.
Welcome back to our special coverage. Harbin has transformed into a premier international destination fueled by the 2025 Asian Winter Games. And since China introduced a 240-hour visa-free transit in December, the city has welcomed over 100,000 foreign visitors, a nearly threefold surge in international arrivals.
And during the 2025 Spring Festival holiday, Harbin attracted more than 12 million visitors, marking a 20.4% year-on-year increase, with tourism revenue exceeding 19 billion yuan.
Inbound tourism soared by nearly 150%, setting historic highs in both visitor volume and tourism spending. The Games further amplified Harbin's global appeal as athletes and tourists from across Asia infused the city with vibrant cultural exchanges.
And for more on Harbin's appeal as a global tourist destination during the Asian Winter Games, let's go back to CGTN reporter Go Tianqi. Live in Harbin for us this hour, Tianqi, cultural and creative products seem to be really trending these days. What are some of the best sellers you've seen there?
Well, yes, actually, Zhongshi, I have one right here. Now, this is the 2025 Harbin Asian Winter Games Special Edition Mystery Box. To be honest, I can't wait another second to open it and see what's inside, so I'm just going to open it while I talk. Well, this series features the lovely mascot of this year's games, Nini and Binbin, alongside with some of China's mega projects like the Dongfanghong satellite and the Long March carrier rocket. So it really showcases Harbin's important role in the country's modernization and industrial development. Now let's find out what's inside. Okay, wow. We have Nini sitting on the Long March carrier rocket. It's so delicate and it's so lovely. No wonder why it's so popular. And it's not just mystery boxes. The Harbin Asian Winter Games have launched a total of over 500 kinds of related merchandises, including badges, pins, bags, and also mugs and so on. And a total of over 200 official licensed stores can be found in the city. But still, due to the extremely high demands, a lot of the very popular products can be really, really hard to get.
Oh man, they're getting creative, aren't they?
Nini on a rocket. Talk about the China speed right there.
It's a very good souvenir for keepsake. Beyond all these popular cultural products, though, Tianqi, how is Harbin's broader ice and snow economy performing?
Well, yes, definitely the Asian Winter Games is playing the role as a catalyst in boosting the city's ice and snow economy, especially in tourism industry. According to data, during the events, the inbound travel orders have increased by over 150% compared to last year. And also the famous Ice and Snow World have received a record-breaking 610,000 visitors during the Spring Festival holiday. And the growing ice and snow economy is not only beneficial to the more developed parts of the city, but also some rural areas. For example, Qingshan Village, which is a village next to the Yabuli skiing resort. Now, villagers there used to rely mostly on agricultural production for a living, but now with the booming tourism industry, the village's infrastructure have improved, and also many villagers have started businesses in, let's say, restaurants and also guest house, which have significantly increased their income. And also the successful hosting of the Harbin Asian Winter Games is believed to further promote the development and the enthusiasm for winter sports, both in China and across Asia.
All right, Tianqi, thank you so much for bringing us the latest from Harbin. Stay warm, have fun. Thank you.
I just couldn't take my eyes off of Nini on the rocket there. What an incredible souvenir that makes for Tianqi, our reporter in Harbin, to remember this incredible journey there. Thank you so much. And China's northeastern region is often regarded as the nation's premier winter sports hub. And for more on that region, I'm now joined by our reporter Aaron Liu in the studio. Aaron, good evening to you. Tell us more about China's northeastern region and what are its significance beyond winter sports.
Thank you, Zhongshi. The northeastern part of China region that not just geographically significant, but also a backbone of China's industry and agriculture. We are talking about the three provinces of Heilongjiang, Jilin, Liaoding, and parts of eastern Inner Mongolia. Northeast China is often referred to as the nation's Green Bowl. The region accounts for over 20% of China's total arable land and produces 1/5 of the country's grain. These fertile lands are known for their black soil, which is ideal for growing crops like corn, soybeans, and rice. This agricultural strength ensures China's food security. The region is known for rich output of many agricultural products. Heilongjiang's Fuyuan is home to the largest scale of the cranberry cultivation base in Asia. Caviar, according to the International Trade Center, China's exports account for about 40% of global market share in 2023. Mackerel, pike, or Mingtai fish. Yanbian is a major global processing hub for these fish, handling over 60,000 tons annually, and wakame or seed mustard, over 90% of the wakame cultivated in China comes from Dalian. The region is also a powerhouse in manufacturing, particularly in sectors like machinery, steel, and aerospace. Companies like Harbin Electric, Angang Steel, and car manufacturers FAW Group are leading technological innovations. Their intelligent factories boost industry efficiency. The region is increasingly becoming an international trade hub. In 2024, its import and export value exceeded 1.2 trillion yuan, or $175 billion, with export rising by over 8% compared to a year ago. This rapid growth highlights the Northeast expanding global significance.
And Aaron, Chinese President Xi Jinping attaches great importance to the development of the Northeast region and winter sports. Could you help us understand his remarks on the two topics?
Yeah, Chinese President Xi Jinping has identified China's ice and snow sector as both a key economic driver and a vital means of promoting political fairness. As a passionate sports enthusiast, he closely follows the development of the winter sports. 1 year after Beijing won the vote to host the 2022 Winter Olympics, President Xi set a bold goal of getting 300 million people involved in the winter sports. A year later, during the two sessions, while talking to a political representative from the Heilongjiang province, Xi first coined the phrase ice and snow resources could also be the mountains of gold and silver. In 2023, on a symposium on the full revitalization of the Northeast China, Xi mentioned that the region is an important gateway for the country's northward opening up and is a strategic position and role in the strengthening regional cooperation in Northeast Asia, and interplay between domestic and international markets are increasingly prominent. Back to you.
Aaron, thank you so much. Aaron Liu live for us here. Appreciate your reporting there. Now, the winter sports craze has spread beyond northern China, taking hold in the country's southern regions. And our correspondent Chen Tao in Shanghai is joining us to talk about the growing popularity of winter sports in these regions. Great to see you there, Chen Tao. How are people embracing winter sports in Shanghai, and how's the ice and snow economy developing there?
Hello. Of course, good evening from Shanghai. As you can see, behind me is an outdoor ice skating park. Well, at the common moment, probably you are not seeing many people, but I can tell you, at peak times, this park welcomed over 1,600 people every day come to skate. Well, Shanghai rarely has any snow, but the winter sports enthusiasm has been unprecedentedly hot this year. Well, giving it snowy vibe people have long been craving. Well, let me give you some numbers. Shanghai has 15 ice skating rinks and one indoor skiing resort, which is also the world's largest one, and over 50 locations offering skiing simulating experiences. And there are over 500 people working in the winter sports related industry. Well, these figures may not seem significant compared with cities in the northern northern part of China, but I can tell you, well, living in the Yangtze River Delta region my entire life, winter sports has been quite niche. But with Winter Olympics being held in Beijing in 2022 and now the Asian Games in Harbin, there are more people here being interested in winter sports. Well, as I mentioned earlier, well, the world's largest indoor skiing resort was just opened last year in Shanghai, attracting many local residents as well as people from the nearby cities come and take it to the slope or ice. And during the Spring Festival this year, the resort welcomed over 8,000 people every day, a 20% increase compared with weekdays. And among these tourists, many are actually foreign tourists. In 2024, Shanghai welcomed over 6.7 million foreign tourists, a year-on-year increase of over 80%. I also had a chance to visit the indoor ski resort this January. I can tell you I met with many foreign tourists, especially those tourists from South Korea, to enjoy the winter wonderland vibe in the city of Shanghai. And boosting the consumption sector is on the top of the agenda for the Shanghai government in 2025. And boosting the consumption for winter sports is also one of the major tasks. For example, Shanghai has been offering coupons for residents, and they can enjoy tickets, discount in winter sports. And all of this are encouraging more people to enjoy the winter wonderland vibe in Shanghai, where rarely snows. Back to you.
Tinto, thank you so much for bringing us that Tinto Live for us there in Shanghai. Now we're standing by for a flag handover ceremony there that could happen any moment from now. But for more on the economic impact of the Games, let me bring back our guests, Mr. Chen Dindian and Mr. Paul Doan. Let me start with you this time, Mr. Doan. Was winter sports booming in Asia? How would you assess the role of Asian Games, Winter Games in particular, in driving ice and snow economy, both in terms of bringing in investment and just get people excited about it?
Yeah, I think at least for the organization like the, of the Asian Olympic Council of Asian Olympics, they look to the Asian Games, the Asian Winter Games, to inspire people on a broader basis and people on the grassroots level instead of just the rich, very wealthy people. I think for every corner in Asia, I think the better off people have their own approaches and options to travel around the world, to spend some time on a skiing slope or skating rink somewhere outside of their country if their country happened to be in a tropical area. But I think the OCA absolutely have something bigger to be said on the much broader population across the continent, because we're actively in an age of AI. You look to develop activities and economic development among the bigger, population or demographic basis across your own continent or your country, your area, your region, for them to find new jobs and find new activities to develop, to engage in, because many of the jobs, existing jobs, will be replaced by machines, and then sports will automatically come up the big attraction, because sports has already created a lot of games with some very established and mature rules recognized and embraced by so many people around the world. And before they start to practice and they want to get involved even professionally as a job, a doer for certain sports, so that would mean the future of lifestyle and also economic models for almost every continent, including Asia. So I think the OCA is looking at the Winter Asian Games, Asian Winter Games, to create role models, real human beings, to inspire people that, okay, this is gonna be the potential beauty of practicing this kind of sport, not only to improve your physical status, but also other than making a living, finding a job, and you have someone to look up to. And that's what sports competitions like the Asian Winter Games can help serve that purpose. And other than economic effects, I think overall for the Olympic family and for the Olympic Council in Asia, the Asian Winter Games is more like such an opportunity, like a window for people to imagine, for people outside of the East Asian powers like China, Japan, and South Korea, and Kazakhstan in Central Asia. I think for a much greater area of this continent, and people on the grassroots level, they can look to and see that they have representatives among themselves that can really compete and perform better and better. Maybe not today, and we only have 8 countries and regions so far in this edition, again, with a medal, with at least a medal. That may be matching a previous record, but I think we need to be patient enough. I think from China as a dominant power, and many of the other powers, I think Japan would settle with only maybe 10 gold medals this time around. Japan used to be a superpower in Asian winter sports, but Japan is quite okay to accept the new picture now. They are happy to see that more and more countries and regions are actually involved. I think for China, we should have a similar attitude. We not only cheer or celebrate about our own overwhelming dominance or success on the medal tally table. I think a country like China should be even happier to see other athletes from other countries are catching up, and they are being encouraged. They are happy about their maybe last position finish in the Asian Games. But I think this is the primary target set by the Olympic family here on this continent.
Grow the pie bigger and everyone will enjoy a bigger slice here. And Dian, coming to you now, every host nation and every host city goes into hosting such a large-scale multi-sport event thinking of the long-term economic benefits here.
Exactly.
And for Harbin, what could that economic heritage, if you will, look like going forward?
Yeah, of course, if you just, we got some numbers like, over, millions, people go to the Harbin ice and snow world. And also, I got a number that, during the Asia Winter Games, over, 1 million tourists went to the Harbin ice and snow world. So you can calculate the economic impact in short term. But for long term, because I've been to Harbin several months ago, and they are just doing some kind of infrastructure and then to prepare for hosting the Asia Winter Games. So you can see that right now the government, put, I need to say, not huge investment, but reasonable investment to provide to development, accommodation and maybe the facility and also some infrastructure as well. So I think it can be, create and provide a higher quality, experience for the tourists in the future in Harbin. So it does only about, to be let Harbin to be attractive for the tourists and from all around the world, but also, can be beneficial for the local citizens. So we need to, to calculate this kind of heritage and also the direct or indirect economic impact in a very scientific way. But it takes a long time. But I always hold a very positive attitude about that.
This year's game have seen a record participating countries and regions. Now, with so many countries getting into winter sports, Mr. Zhang, how can we keep the momentum going and make sure that winter sports stay popular even after the games are over?
Well, I think first they have, countries like Cambodia and Saudi Arabia, they finally have some athletes representing their countries. And at the same time, during their stay in Harbin, they can experience and really feel the warmth of being welcomed, not only by the local people, but also by their competitors, who might be much more experienced and more powerful in their given sports. I think they should be given the, the feel of being a family member during such sporting competitions and events. It's very different from elsewhere because in Europe and North America, most of the winter sports are already so established, and athletes from those countries like Saudi Arabia and Cambodia are unrealistically being represented in those competitions in Europe and North America. Only Asia, still in this early development stage, can be able to accommodate them from nowhere or from very, very early stage of development. I think they should feel comfortable, not very nervous when entering such a competition, competing against some of the best in the same continent, that they are treated fairly and they are respected by their competitors who are more famous, who are more welcomed and cheered. They need the cheers also from the local spectators. I think that's very, very important, because you don't ask them to win a medal in their first very try during the Winter Games. But I think, yeah, that's very important for their country to understand the sport better that they are being represented in, they are competing in. And at the same time, they try to talk to the local hosts, like in China, who have demonstrated their prowess in speed skating or in ski mountaineering, and see if they can share some experience or even send coaches or experts to their own camps, to Cambodia and Saudi Arabia, and help them, give them some ideas and tips to help them grow maybe a little faster and better, and inspire the young kids to follow their national athletes and try and give it a try and see how fairly they can perform. So I think, yeah, you need to, I think for most Chinese athletes, they look up to the European American competitors to perform better in the during the Olympics. But at the same time, I think our continent need the more developed nations and their athletes to take better care of those newcomers.
Daniel, coming to you now, we often say that the Winter Olympics in Beijing in 2022 has really taken the winter sports level in China up a notch. Do you think the Asian Winter Games this time will refuel that passion and reignite the passion, if you will?
Of course, definitely, because I'm a skiing mania since the Beijing Winter Olympics. So, yeah, I think the demand is always there. In the north of south of China, we got so many, people who love skiing and then skateboarding and then so much like curling or so many winter sports that you can participate into that, and you can buy some equipment and then consume.
All right, sorry to jump in, Mr. Chen. We want to take you live to Harbin now. The flag handover ceremony is taking place in Harbin. Now, together with the flag of the Olympic Council of Asia, the flag of the Asian Winter Games is now being handed over to Saudi Arabia. That's the next host of the Asian Winter Games in 2029. Harbin has been a great host so far. It's been an entertaining, spectacular 12 days, all that you can expect from a multi-sports international event, and just how important it is to be united in achieving great things. Now,
and a few things about the next host, Saudi Arabia. The country made their debut at the Asian Winter Games in Harbin with a delegation of just 8, comprising a 5-man curling team and 3 alpine skiers, 1 man and 2 women.
There you see a key moment of the closing ceremony, the flags being handed over from China to Saudi Arabia in front of thousands of spectators, which will play host to the 10th Asian Winter Games in 2029.
Very exciting for Saudi Arabia, as it will play the host of the Asian Winter Games next. Now, as the 2025 Asian Winter Games come to a close, we now take a moment to connect with our correspondent in South Korea to get a regional perspective on how the Games have resonated with audiences across Asia.
Right, let's go live to our correspondent Shane Hom, live for us in Seoul. Great to see you, Shane. Now, the Asian Winter Games is the only regional winter sports event in the world. From your perspective in South Korea, how has the 2025 Games influenced the popularity of winter sports in the country, and what role do you think this will play in shaping the future of winter sports in South Korea?
Well, of course, South Korea is no stranger to winter sports, having hosted the Winter Games, the Winter Olympics, I should say, back in 2018 for Pyeongchang there. But it's hard to imagine. It's been 7 years now since the Pyeongchang Winter Games. And since then, you could say that South Korea has gone through sort of a changing of the guard. The delegation went into Harbin with the goal of finishing second in the medal standings, and the delegation did achieve that goal, winning 45 medals overall, including 16 golds. There were wins that were expected in traditional dominant sports like short track speed skating, where South Korea won 6 of the 9 gold medals at stake, 3 gold medals in the long track speed skating as well. But there are also some surprise golds as well, both the men and women's singles figure skating. Cha Jun-hwan and Kim Chae-yeon winning gold there unexpectedly outcompeting their Japanese counterparts, their rivals there the past couple of days. And also there are many firsts. There are many landmarks for the South Korean delegation. The first Asian Winter Games gold medals in snowboarding, as well as freestyle skiing, and the first naturalized South Korean to win a gold medal in the 7.5-kilometer biathlon sprint. That occurred as well. So going back to in terms of a changing of the guard here, ever since the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, many of the youngsters that grew up watching the stars from that Olympics are now athletes themselves. And if you look at South Korea's delegation, they're relatively young. Many of the speed skaters are still in their early 20s. A surprise winner in the long track speed skating 100-meter event, Lee Na-hyun, she's 19 years old. Both the figure skaters, Cha Jun-hwan and Kim Chae-yeon, they're 23 and 18-year-olds respectively. So with the Milano Cortina Winter Games just a year away now, there's a sudden expectation for the South Korean team to do well in a year's time. Now, of course, as with most sports, you can say that with the Harbin Games, these were a great experience for these athletes because no amount of practice or preparation can really recreate that scene of competition. And I think the Harbin organizers can really applaud themselves. And as far as the coverage here in South Korea, following sports here in the country for many, many years, in terms of a Winter Asian Games, I think this is the first time the games have seen widespread coverage on the networks here. And there's been a lot of coverage and excitement and attention from South Korean fans here as well. So as far as South Korea's delegation, they can be proud of their performance. But overall for winter sports, for example, in Pyeongchang, I remember when they got the bid, one of their big pledges was to really grow winter sports, especially with the Pyeongchang initiative for regions like in Southeast Asia. And we may be seeing the fruits of that right now.
Shane, let me keep you on for one more minute here. In terms of growing winter sports, as you mentioned just now, South Korea is already very advanced when it comes to winter sports, and it sits comfortably in the top 3 at the Harbin Games this time. Do you think this Asian Winter Games could inspire further development, further progress in winter sports in South Korea?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned, what we saw from the Pyeongchang kids, as they're known here, how they've grown up now to compete on the international stage. And with most sports, not just winter sports, but with all sports, it's a sort of chicken or the egg situation where attention and good performance spurs more success and growth. And you need that to get more investments, more training, better infrastructure and facilities. And of course, when a country hosts a winter game or Winter Olympics or games like in Pyeongchang, for instance, you have the infrastructure, you have the facilities for kids to train and really cultivate from the grassroots level. And that's really, I think, the cycle that you see. Because South Korea, another example of that in terms of curling, the women's team here won gold in Harbin. If you go back to 2018, they also won bronze at those games. If you asked Koreans back in 2018, they probably never knew what curling was, let alone that South Korea had a team and that one that did perform so well. So again, you need this sort of exposure and investments and just interest in youngsters and at the grassroots to really build a country's sporting development, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Shane, we appreciate your reporting as always. Thank you so much for joining us today. Shane Hom, live in Seoul. Thank you.
At the event summary press conference held this morning, officials from the Olympic Council of Asia gave high praise to Harbin's efforts in organizing the Games. Take a listen.
This could be one of the most successful Winter Asian Games. Unfortunately, we gave them very little time. I knew there were We'll give them only 18 months to perfect this game. And then normally, a major game takes about 7 years. It's Hussein will give you a lot more statistic and give him his feeling.
Thank you. The medical services in Harbin, one of the best ever in the Asian game, not winter, even summer. I've been engaged in the Olympic movement since a long time. I attended all the Asian games since '82 until now. I attended all the Olympic games and the World Championship. I never saw so advanced in technology, using the technology in the medical services. In the volunteer side, I've been shocked. Never happened in the history of the Asian game, such high persons from the society engage to help. So we have everything to tell the world is all positive and good positive stories. Our athletes enjoy competing here. Our athletes wish to come back to Harbin to have a competition here.
The Games also extended an opportunity for guests to experience traditional Chinese culture. The official end of Chinese New Year festivities on Wednesday were marked by the Lantern Festival.
CGTN and the organizing committee of the Games hosted an event to celebrate the occasion at the main media center. And our reporter Dai Kai-yi has more.
From sweet treats to lively folk dances, the Lantern Festival brought a festive atmosphere to the Asian Winter Games. Representatives from across Asia gathered here, experiencing China's rich cultural heritage firsthand.
With the organizing committee and CGTN, organizing such a wonderful occasion to display our culture, our way of celebration, festivities, it's been great. And we just had a look around. There have been a lot of, food, handicraft, traditions. So hopefully more athletes will join and we have a good time together.
Also in attendance were these cute little robotic dogs who performed a folk dance at the gala.
The robotic dogs right here are just one example of high-tech gadgets and innovations being used in the Asian Winter Games. And there are other technologies. For example, the next generation 5G network ensuring seamless broadcast. All this is designed to make sure that the gathering is smarter, faster, and brings people closer together.
I think that today I dive deep into Chinese culture. I was expecting lanterns and making lanterns and taking it back home, and I did that.
I learned many things now from China and especially from Harbin, and I thanks for who is making that event to give us experience to know China.
From being someone from Canada, never been to China before, I'm interested in learning all of it, right? All of, that's the lantern making, the dumpling making, everything else that's going to be happening tonight. So for me, this is a brand new experience, so I'm hoping to enjoy every little bit of it.
As the Lantern Festival celebration is happening here in Harbin, this event is also a sweet reminder of how much unity matters to us, all through a shared vision of togetherness. That guy is CGTN, Harbin.
All right, as we stand by for that flame extinguishing ceremony, let's talk a little bit more about the impact of the Asian Winter Games. So we've just seen the organizers utilizing this opportunity to showcase some of China's art, culture. This year's game coincided with China's Spring Festival, the Lantern Festival. So it is playing a great role in facilitating cultural exchanges among Asian countries, isn't it, Mr. Chen?
Well, of course, every, sports major events have a, great platform for cultural exchange and then to invite, volunteer athletes and the people who involved into this event have the opportunity to do the cultural exchange. So I think in this Asia Winter Game, we already saw, several, this kind of, it's also, during the, Chinese New Year period. So we can see lots of, traditional activity that the foreign athletes and also the visitor tourism that have the access to this this kind of event. I think it's a great case for major sports event in the future, and also to have our own storytelling, and then to have a better opportunity to present our pure Chinese culture.
Paul, we talked about Harbin's consideration of retaining economic benefits and economic legacy from the Asian Winter Games this time. But what about cultural legacy? Harbin already is a well-established winter wonderland, at least here in China. This is its second time hosting the Asian Winter Games. It's must got its mind beyond just economic benefits when it comes to cultural appeal. For visitors coming from abroad, what will this Asian Winter Games bring in terms of China's cultural messaging to, tourists, athletes, spectators, and people that are interested in China?
Yeah, I think for overseas or foreign visitors, it will be a great opportunity to visit China. Of course, China is a large country with very diverse cultural features, and in northeastern China, so far north in very cold place. I think, for people, especially in Southeast Asia, Southern Asia, South Asia, and Western Asia, I think, it's very unique. It doesn't mean all of China. You need to go to other places to understand Chinese culture better. But yes, Harbin is quite unique and reminds people like, the Hong Kong guest who spoke on the press briefing about his feeling that he compared Harbin with Hong Kong, which, what an analogy, but both cities have some architecture that blend Eastern and Western styles. And Harbin has that uniqueness. Harbin is not very, very old compared with some of the other ancient cities across China, maybe only more than a century old. But Harbin has its own very unique way to develop itself. I think it's a good demonstration of, for many people, many people in the world cannot imagine that how so many people, like 10 million people now, nearly 10 million in Harbin, can not only survive but also prosper and then also develop and build their own life in such a city which is one of the coldest in the world. And from them, it's very unimaginable. But here they can see these people are not only surviving, they are very happy, they are celebrating their holidays, and also they are so open to welcome visitors. And that's for overseas or foreign visitors. What I have been so sympathetic with those athletes who were originally, indigenously trained athletes in Harbin, in Heilongjiang, and in northeastern China, because usually they are specialized in winter sports. That would mean for every spring festival, they are somewhere far away from their home. So once they return home for such a competition, like the Asian Winter Games, it's a great opportunity for the family to come to downtown Harbin or in Yabuli to see, within such a close range, see their kids practicing, training, and competing. And they have just a short time to hug each other during the family get-together time and the festival time. Mm-hmm. And normally, without Harbin Asian Winter Games, they would spend their own festival times so far apart. So when it comes to domestic tourism or traveling, these close neighbors, who are the families of those athletes. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if the organizers announce sometime in the near future that, maybe 80% or even 90% of those visitors to Harbin during the Asian Winter Games are still Chinese travelers, Chinese tourists. I wouldn't be surprised. And that's part of the target that the host city wants to achieve. At least, we have a huge market here during winter time, and Harbin can be a very, very good choice.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because even in southern China, there are not so many outdoor activities for you to engage in during winter times. In February. So some people in the south would ask, why not that we travel to a very cold place and see how it would be like there? And we can see that during the very sunshine hours, shining hours of daytime, even though the temperature can be as low as minus 15 Celsius. And people don't feel that cold. And only this experience can tell you how you can really brave the cold weather during this time. I think so. Yeah, I think Harbin will continue to be a big magnet for domestic tourists, as well as overseas, of course.
I have so much respect for winter sports athletes, and let's go back to Harbin, to the closing ceremony that is underway there in Harbin. We're moments away from the extinguishing of the flame at the main cauldron. And there you go, the fire, the flame at the main cauldron is out, marking the official end of the Winter Games in Harbin this time.
You know, the flames are extinguished, but the warmth and the heat from Harbin will never come to an end. Now, the Asian Winter Games has further boosted passion for ice and snow sports along the Songhua River, which has become a defining feature of the city. From young skaters to creative locals, the river has become a hub for winter enthusiasts.
And our reporter Wang Hongjia takes us to the heart of this winter wonderland to explore how Harbin is embracing its chilly heritage and fostering the next generation of athletes.
11-year-old Yu Chenrui began speed skating 3 years ago. Recently, he has been deeply inspired by the athletes at the Asian Winter Games.
I love ice skating the most. At the Ice Club, I ranked first in the 500 meters, 300 meters, and 200 meters group events. I am determined to master short track speed skating and plan to compete in international tournaments in the future. I want to learn from the champions of the Asian Winter Games and improve my skills.
He has been skating on the Songhua River, Harbin's mother river, where many locals first became acquainted with winter sports.
I grew up by the Songhua River, where they built many ice slides specifically for kids. Every year, our school would organize trips to enjoy the ice facilities, hoping we'd engage in winter sports and develop a love for the ice and snow environment.
Beneath us, the frozen Songhua River. Winter sports are a way of life for many here in Harbin, especially on the Songhua River. And locals are full of creative ideas, turning the river into a playground and a driver for development. Now, I'm gonna take a ride.
From the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics to the 2025 Asian Winter Games in Harbin, around 313 million people in the country have participated in ice and snow sports or related leisure activities. Local governments have also been actively developing facilities to make winter sports more accessible to the public.
Kids can skate for free at the sports park, Ping Fang Park and Zhaoling Park, all offering great spots to glide on the ice.
This winter, Harbin has created 114 public ice rinks with 10 ice sports centers operating continuously, alongside a series of free ice and snow entertainment projects. Wang Hongjia, CGTN in Harbin, Heilongjiang Province.
China's winter sports sector has surged since the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, with both participation and economic impact reaching new heights. According to the General Administration of Sport of China, over 313 million people have engaged in winter sports since the Olympics, including 264 million during the 2023 to 2024 winter season alone.
In Heilongjiang Province, a winter sports hub, more than 500 county level and above events have directly engaged 250,000 participants and drawn 7 million spectators this season, a 20% increase from last year, with nearly 60% grassroots participation supported by 3,000 seasonal ice rinks and 94 ski resorts.
Economically, the winter sports market in China has surpassed 150 billion yuan, with winter gear like jackets, ski suits, and gloves emerging as key consumer categories, in addition to travel-related goods and services.
And for more, we're now joined via Skype by Justin Downes, advisor for the Olympic Organizing Committee and president of Access Leisure Management. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Now, what strategies would you recommend to encourage and facilitate public participation in winter sports, especially when considering factors like accessibility, affordability, and public awareness?
Well, certainly all three of these things are critical to the growth of the sport. I mean, China's already doing a great job in at least two of these categories, being accessibility, the development of new ski and ice venues around the country. It's now the largest industry in the world for growth. There's more indoor ski domes in China than there is in the rest of the world combined. So making the infrastructure accessible for people to be able to get there, especially in the south of the country where there is no natural snow and ice. So exposing this large population to these venues is very important. The government's already doing a fantastic job in improving transportation, airports, high-speed rail, and new highways. These things are unbelievably important to be able to get people to the venues affordably and efficiently and safely, most importantly. Public awareness, the most important thing that you can probably do is to host events like the Asian Winter Games, World Cups, World Championships, Winter Olympics, all of these types of things. Because when the athletes start to excel on the global and national level, that really piques the interest of the mainstream consumer, and this is what really gets people involved and interested in the sport. But the most important thing really is keeping it affordable. Some of these sports, winter sports, have a high cost of entry to get involved in. So if we can keep the cost of entry relatively affordable, then more and more people will try it, and more people will stay with it.
Justin, one more question for you. In what way can the growth of winter sports contribute to the lasting growth and expansion of the ice and snow economy here in China?
Well, certainly what it's already doing is boosting tourism and hospitality. I mean, post-COVID, Chinese people have a greater yearning for more family time, more time with their friends, more time outside, more time exercising. And there's always been a general curiosity and fascination for remote parts of the country and the different cultural experiences. So bringing people to parts of the country for winter sport is obviously improving and boosting tourism and hospitality. It creates new jobs, it creates new career paths, and it revitalizes smaller towns that perhaps lost their population over the years for job opportunities in the cities, where young families couldn't necessarily find a way to earn a salary. Now they're coming back to these small towns and really kind of breathing a new life into them. So it brings year-round economic impact, really, because these resorts and these venues are used 365 days of the year for various different activities. So it's really boosting the economy and improving the quality of life for all of these regional, rural areas.
And it's safe to assume that more people will take it to the rinks following the successful hosting of the Asian Winter Games. Justin, very briefly, if you will, do you have any essential tips for beginners to stay safe and improve their skills in ice and snow sports?
Sure. Well, don't be afraid. It looks like it's dangerous, but it's not. And I think if you get a lesson from somebody who knows what they're doing, get an instructor who can teach you how to engage with the sport properly and safely, that's the first part. But you've got to know your limits. If you're new, you don't necessarily need to go to the most difficult part of a ski run or try to go backwards on ice skates. I mean, just know your limits. Wear the proper gear, wear the proper clothes. Helmet is essential. In fact, it's mandatory in Chinese ski resorts and certainly in ice rinks. And warm up. I mean, be in some physical condition that enables you to properly use your muscles. So I think these are the key
Great
things.
Great reminders, great tips. Justin, we appreciate your expertise and analysis. Thank you so much for making time for us today. And as we near the end of our special broadcast today, our heartfelt thanks to our guests here in the studio, Chen Diandian and Paul Dong. Gentlemen, fantastic to have you on. Thank you for staying with us.
And that's going to do it for our special coverage of the closing ceremony of the Harbin Winter Asian Games.
We leave you with stunning views of the Harbin ice and snow world in Heilongjiang Province. I'm Zhong Shi.
I'm Li Qiuyuan. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.